Hello students, welcome. I hope you're all doing good. You must have heard about a term, a very simple basic term, PIL. We'll today understand how this simple term PIL, the public interest litigation, is a powerful tool for the Indian public to sometimes investigate, to sometimes get to the truth, to sometimes know how the government spends money on public projects. This is what PIL has given to the Indian public, how it was created, what was its timeline. We'll try to get a look on everything, right? Okay. Public interest litigation PIL, how ordinary Indians change the system through courts. Right. What is PIL? Public interest litigation. It is a legal petition filed in the Supreme Court or a High Court, right? In the Supreme Court or a High Court for a public cause rather than a personal dispute. So, like this, for example, there's something going on in the Aravali Hills, and the public around it, they want to know what exactly the government is doing, what exactly the contractors are doing. Are they going to destroy the Aravali Hills part of it? Are they constructing something? So they can file a PIL to get to know to it, to try to save it, right? So that is how PIL works. Any citizen can approach the court on behalf of those who cannot fight for themselves. So you must have heard about people who make it a goal of their life to file PLs and fight for the common causes, fight for the public causes. In India, we have seen PLs filed over pollution, we have seen PL filed over damaged roads, a lot of things, right? Which is an interest to the public, not to someone, not to a company, not to any personal interest, to the public, right? That is why we see the term public in it. Who can file a PL? Journalists can file it, lawyers, NGOs, private citizen, anyone can file it. Okay. Okay. In the 1970s, 80s, when the PIL was in its formation courts, like the PIL was evolving as a thing, during that period, uh, letters, postcards were also considered as PL petitions. Like someone has submitted a nameless letter to the court that this is the concern. I am not, I don't want my identity to come out, but this is how the corruption is going out. This is how the nature is being destroyed, right? So those kinds of letters or those kinds of postcards were also considered as PL when during the starting time, right? In the 1970s, 80s. Now there's a procedure through which people, journalists, lawyers, they can file PIL. Okay. Origin of PL in India. So there's no one such date or one such year we can say that PL was formed in, let's say, 1970. That is not how it happened. There was a whole journey to it. So two people known as the father of PL or the founders of PL, Justice PN Bhagwati, Justice VR Krishna Iyer, right? Uh, Courts were inaccessible. People of these communities, they were never able to access courts. They were not able to know what their legal rights are, right? Like prisoners, bonded laborers, tribal communities, marginalized citizens. So these were the target audience. These were the people for which PL now works, or at that time should have worked as a very powerful tool to get their problem solved. Okay. Relaxation of locus standi. That means uh, someone who is in, let's say, accused, who is an victim, right? So the what this system says is the case is all about the accused and the victim. But after relaxing the locus standi means a lawyer can stand for someone else, a journalist can stand for a community, a PIL worker or a PIL activist can file PIL for someone else, right? So this system was relaxed. Anyone acting in public interest could approach the court. Not that specific person of the public, not that specific member of that public. anyone can approach the court, right? So the locus standi was relaxed. Okay, the landmark PIL cases which shaped how people see PIL today, how they use PIL today, how they get a solution from PILs. So the landmark PIL cases, the first one, the Bandhua Mukti Morcha. So you must have heard about a term as Bandhua Mazdoor, someone who works as a labor but never gets his or her rights, proper income, proper working conditions, proper working hours, right? Okay. So this case of 1984, the Bandhua Mukti Morcha filed a PL exposing bonded laborers in stone quarries. So these stone quarries, they used to have bonded laborers. The laborers were not allowed to leave the premises. They were not allowed to speak for them. They were not allowed to raise their voice. They were not allowed to ask for rights. So this PL was filed for them. Petitioner was Bandhua Mukti Morcha. So as you see that a NGO is appealing for those people, not the laborers. They are not themselves supposed to, or they are not themselves need to go to the court. A NGO can file for them. That is what the initial structure of PL was. That the victim is not needed to be in the court. Someone else can file for it, right? The issue was bonded labor in stone quarries illegal and inhuman conditions. Okay, the Supreme Court action was appointed investigators, ordered release of laborers, directed rehabilitation. In fact, thousands of bonded laborers were freed across India. So the first major case of PL which gave a solution to a lot of bonded laborers, which this first PL was a solution to a lot of Bandhua Mazuri problem in the country, right? So that is how the first landmark case solved the problem. The second landmark case was Hussainara Khatoon 1979, a petition highlighting the plight of under trial prisoners. So under trials are those who are still going on in the trial and are not uh, they are not finally directed their punishment. They are not finally undergoing the punishment years. They are still in the process. Their trial is still going on. They need to be in the jails, and whenever there's a hearing of the court, they need to come to the prison. Right? There are cases in India that maybe someone is under investigation, or someone there's a accusation that he or she maybe did a robbery, right? In which he or she would have got a punishment of, would have got a jail of maybe 5 years. But the under trial case has gone up to 10 years, right? So, what the second landmark case did was the petitioner was Hussainara. Under trial prisoners is Bihar languishing in jail without trial, sometimes for longer than the sentence itself. So, let's say they are sentenced, if he or she was finally proven guilty and the sentence was for, let's say, 5 years, and the trial is going for, let's say, 8 years. So that was what the problem in Bihar state was. The Supreme Court order after the PL was order immediate release of over 40,000. The number is 40,000 under trial prisoners, right? What was the impact? Established the right to speedy trials as a fundamental right under Article 21. Okay, the third landmark case was MC Mehta CNG case 1998, a very influential case. We have seen the impact, the changes this case implemented in the national capital, in the UTF Delhi, and around the UTF Delhi, that is NCR. Okay. Petitioner MC Mehta, environmental lawyer, issue air pollution in Delhi caused by diesel and public transportation. You must have seen that Delhi has these CNG buses, CNG taxis, or now they have electric buses, electric taxis, electric two-wheelers, electric three-wheelers, right? So the starting of that was in late 90s when this PL was filed. Supreme Court ordered Delhi's entire public transportation, all the public buses, the cabs, the auto rickshaws, everything. So Supreme Court ordered the entire Delhi public transportation system to be switched to CNG from, let's say, diesel, petrol, and everything, right? So Now they are shifting even from CNG to electric, but majority, or let's say more than 95% of the public transportation system of Delhi works on CNG. You must have seen it. You must have, if you have ever visited Delhi, you must have seen their DTC buses, all the cabs. They have their CNG cylinders in the back of the car. The Delhi metro is all electric, right? So this is the case which initiated a very big reform for the national capital, and that reform was after that borrowed by other states, other big cities, other metro cities, right? Major environmental reform, Delhi became a global model for CNG public transportation, right? The fourth landmark case, right to food case 2001, PUCL challenge the government for allowing food to rot in warehouse. So let's say the government, they have their Food Corporation of India has their warehouse. After the agriculture season, the farmers, they sell their crop to the government in the APMC mandis. The government, they get the crop, store it in the Food Corporation of India godowns, right? Sometimes a lot of crop which is not sent to the ration shops or which is not sold is intentionally, let's say, allowed to rot, allowed to get waste in the storehouse, in the Food Corporation of India godowns, right? That is what was happening under everyone's knowledge. This PIL changed that. People's Union for Civil Liberties, PUCL, food grains rotting in government warehouse while millions faced hunger, a cruel paradox, strengthening implementation of welfare food schemes across states, expansion and strengthening of India's midday meal. So the solution was, don't allow any crop to be left in those storehouse. If you have any surplus crop, use it in the ration schemes, use it in the midday meal program. And now we have majority of those program in which we use all the crops, everything, and there's nothing to get waste for. If still we have some waste, or if still we have something left, we use it in, like say, ethanol production, or we use it to make the chara for the animal, right? So that is how now we are using all of it. Nothing is left to be rot. Landmark PL case number 5, uh, Vishka case 1997. Uh, Vishka versus State of Rajasthan addressed the absence of law in workspace sexual harassment. So this was the PIL which later on uh, started the foundation or laid the foundation for what you now see as POSH guidelines. Okay. A women right group in Rajasthan. No law existed to protect women from sexual harassment at the workplace, created the Vishka guidelines, binding rules for all employers. Employers is the one who give you the job. All employers to follow until Parliament enacted a law. The law now we known as POSH Act 2013. And also you can say the POSCO was also somewhat inspired from these guidelines, right? So the POSCO is protection of children from sexual offences. That POSCO and POSH, they started from the PLF of 1997, right? Okay. How to file a PL? So step one, identify a genuine public issue, not person trust. So majority time it can be from a issue of environment, a issue of, let's say, social security, a workplace problem, a gender problem, right? Draft the petition. So draft the whole petition clearly stating the issue and relief sought. Okay, file under Article 32 Supreme Court article in Supreme Court, Article 226 in High Court. Court admission and notice issue to the opposite party. So whosoever you are filing against, let's say there's a uh, construction going on in the riverbed, and a private company, they are constructing, let's say, a resort in the riverbed, which is very dangerous during the monsoon. When the river will try to expand, that can create floods, right? So if you filed a PL, so the court will let the other party know that a PL has been filed against you, and now you need to state your side of the story, right? Step 5, arguments, investigation if needed, and final judgment, right? The filing fees can as low as be 50 rupees, making PL one of the most accessible legal remedies in India. Challenges of PL, right? So there we have seen misuse, like to file multiple PLs against a particular company and then ask for money that will then stop the process of PILs, right? So publicity seeking, political rivalry, harassment, PILs, these are what the challenges to PILs are. The court, whenever they feel like there is a certain PIL which is of a kind of harassment, political rivalry, so the courts they intervene and try to stop it. The Supreme Court has imposed costs on PILs to deter misuse. Courts now scrutinize rights. So they try to find out is there is a genuine PL or maybe a kind of publicity seeking political rivalry or harassment PLs, right? Why PL matter? Access to justice, open courts to the citizen, social justice tool, free bonded laborers, fed school children, clean Delhi's air, rights enforcement, convert constitution rights from paper guidelines to realities, right? Legislative gap filling, courts stepped in where parliament had. So if there are things where the constitution is not that clear, where we don't have parliamentary laws or acts, the courts they step in. And you must have seen that we take the court's order as a reference. So if there is any issue in which the parliament is not clear, there is no act, there is no constitution solution, so the courts they step in. Citizen empowerment. A journalist, a lawyer, even a private citizen can file the PL, right? PL transform the Indian judiciary into a tool of social justice. Okay, right. So that is all about PIL, how it started, its timeline, the landmark cases, and how, if you anytime in your life feel that you need to file a PLI, what is the process for that, right? We'll meet in the next uh, informative video, right? Like this. For them, thank you and have a very successful day. Thank you, students. Thank you.